It's taken 18 months largely because of the pandemic. The second point, and the most important one as far as the Premier League is concerned, it affected an issue of piracy. So we all know when we go home and watch Sky and we watch football matches in pubs and gyms, etc., that there are expensive broadcasting rights, a portfolio of rights that are sold domestically. There's also another one that goes internationally, which we don't see unless we maybe go on holiday. Now, one of the regions is in the Middle East, and that would include the United Arab Emirates. GBN Sports have the contract for that particular area, and due to a diplomatic dispute, they were not allowed to broadcast in Saudi by the Saudi government. It would be the equivalent, Michelle, of, say, the Premier League rights being given out domestically, and then somewhere like Northern Ireland or Wales decides, or the government there, the devolved government there decides that they're not showing it in that particular country, they're going to use their own mechanism instead. Now, that cost GBN Sports around about £2 billion per season over a 4-year period. It was hugely detrimental to what they were trying to do. I even know staff myself who were working for GBN Sports who were one of 400 people to be dismissed because they just couldn't make ends meet. It almost forced the channel to go under. So they've had to settle that. So it was a diplomatic dispute. Apparently, we don't really know the ins and outs of it because it was quite secretive. So they've put that to one side and they believe they can move on with that. The third point is the Premier League is very, very conscious of its image now. I mean, you'll see that viewers have been force-fed a political diet of Black Lives Matter, climate change, rainbow laces, all manner of other stuff that the viewer didn't really want. They're very conscious of being woke. That's putting it mildly. From there, how do you get from there to going into business effectively by inviting the Saudi government to take over one of your biggest clubs? It's very uncomfortable for them, but as usual, Michelle, money wins the day.
I was just about to say it's not that uncomfortable, is it? Because I think their primary concerns seem to be their lost revenue in piracy as opposed to the other side of the coin. But the other side of the coin we must talk about because it's all about the Amnesty International have got involved. They're not happy. They're saying about they're saying about the human rights impact and all of the kind of things that goes on in Saudi Arabia. Your thoughts on that?
Well, let's just consider exactly what happened. I mean, look, a lot of owners in the Premier League, if you go through club by club, they don't have a clean rap sheet in terms of what they've done. I mean, we think back to the human rights accusations levelled at the Abu Dhabi group who took over Manchester City back in 2008. We look at the way that Roman Abramovich acquired Sibneft back in 2003. We look at West Ham, made all their money, Sullivan and Gold made all their money through porn. So we can go through bits and pieces and think, well, you know, that's not good, that's not good. Maybe you could say this about Newcastle and their takeover, but I think this kind of lifted into a different stratosphere. They murdered and dismembered a journalist, a columnist from the Washington Post because he was writing material. That's absolutely right, against the regime. His widow has implored Newcastle not to get involved with these people, but there's also a subtext to it. Newcastle have suffered for 14 years. This is too big a club to be run on a subsistence level. He's kept him out of debt, Mike Ashley, but Newcastle fans want more than that. They turn up every single game, the place is absolutely packed out. And so they want success, and somebody coming along flashing notes at them with the opportunity to move into the top four, maybe even win the league title with manager Steve Bruce. We don't know how long he's going to be there for. It's probably too big an offer to refuse from their point of view.
Yeah, and I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think this consortium, they've also invested in companies like Disney, in Uber.
Yeah.
So they've kind of got their fingers in a lot of pies. But just before I let you go, how has this been received by Newcastle fans?
The vast majority are very pleased about it. I think they're expecting a group, well, let's say a group, a few thousand people outside the ground tonight to welcome the new owners into the club, akin to when they used to make big signings under Kevin Keegan when Alan Shearer came back. The whole place was a throng of supporters. I think we're going to see a little bit of that for the first time in a long time at Newcastle. There are a few conscientious objectors, as we might like to call them, on social media who really, really aren't comfortable with this. But for now, it represents a change. There'll be lots and lots of consternation about this going forward. But for now, I think Newcastle fans are going to be pleased. The only other thing I would say, though, is that it's not going to be a takeover like Manchester City and Chelsea. It's not as easy just to pump money into a club now and sign players because you've got the financial fair play rules laid down by FIFA. So that's something that will maybe stop them acquiring players with quite the level that Chelsea and Manchester City did. So that's why they put out together in the media briefings today that the signings won't necessarily be coming into the door anytime soon. They can't sign anyone until January anyway.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.